Assalamu alaikum and welcome back to another episode of Manifesting Muslimah. I'm your host, Zara Pedersen, and today we're going to talk about the different tools you can use when it comes to law of attraction and elevating your manifestation game. If you have been consuming law of attraction content, books, podcasts, videos, whatever is out there for some time, even if it's just the shortest amount of time, a month, a couple of weeks, you'll have noticed that different creators talk about different tools. Some people talk about using affirmations all the time, and that being the secret to them, up leveling their manifestation game and creating their dream lives. You'll have seen people swearing by mood boards, vision boards, and having that constant visual representation of what it is that they're trying to manifest into their life be the thing that made all the difference to them. You'll have creators out there. By the way, when I say creators, I obviously mean content creators. And not like a creator, because there's only one, and that is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and we all know that. Allahu Akbar. But you'll have people out there talking about journaling or meditation or visualization. There are so many different tools and methods out there, and you'll have heard at some point or another, or you will if you haven't already, somebody say, that is the thing that changed my whole relationship with manifestation and law of attraction. That's the thing that made it work for me, that made the magic happen, that created the difference that I was longing to see. And so you might, if you're still sort of trying to get the hang of it all and you're still learning and you're still consuming a lot of that kind of content, get very confused. And rightly so, because at the beginning, I too was that. When I was still learning about manifestation and law of attraction, I too was like, well, which one is it? Am I supposed to be doing a meditation before I go to sleep? Should I do it as I wake up? Is meditation basically rubbish in the law of attraction? And should I be focusing on journaling? And should I have a visual representation at all times? What should I be focusing on? Where should I be placing my energy? And also, girl, I am busy. Not all the time busy, but I got a life. I need to do other things than just sit and meditate and visualize and write gratitude journals and do my salats and my du'as and then also have affirmations. And, there's only so much time in a day, and I have no intention of spending the entirety of my day and every free time that I have in my day on tools and methods of manifesting. That's it's not meant to take over my life, and I don't want it to take over my life. So which one is it? Which one will I get the most bang out of my buck with, And so that's what we're going to talk about today, because it is definitely one of the things that I get asked about a lot over on socials by you guys. Some of you will message me I've tried gratitude journaling. It's not really working for me. I can't find the time. I'm finding it difficult. Does that mean I can't manifest anymore? Or hi, what do you think about listening to meditations on YouTube? Or is it haram to do affirmations? I really like it, or, whatever. And so I think it's very appropriate for us to have that conversation to really once and for all settle the score, so to speak, figure out, okay, well, what is it then? What should we be focusing on? And the truth is that outside of dua, then there isn't a single thing that that will do the thing that's going to change it. As Muslims, we know and understand that every blessing, including the manifestations and the way that we use law of attraction, even the law of attraction itself, comes from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So the only thing we should be focusing on as Muslims that will change our game, so to speak, is the dua. The dua is the thing that we've been given. That is the ultimate tool that we've been given by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that can change our lives. And this is greatly spoken upon in Islam, in hadiths, in the Quran, that Allah has given us this extremely powerful tool that can change our lives, the entirety of our lives. It can even prolong your lifetime. Let me just get into that because there's a hadith. Oh my God, I should have looked that up before I even sat down to the call, but you know the deal by this point. Zara is not that kind of girly. She's not so organized when it comes to that kind of stuff. She just speaks from her heart, and sometimes gold happens and other times it becomes a bit messy, and that's also a type of gold. So we just run with it. But there's a hadith that says, if Allah wills it and you make the dua and Allah wants it for you, He will extend your life. So we know as Muslims that our death time, that our lifespan has been given in advance. But even then, if we make the right dua and Allah accepts the dua, which He accepts all duas, but of course He's also, happy with us and our efforts to, be His servants and be good Muslims in this dunya, then He can even prolong our lifespan, change the time that we were meant to pass on to the next life or move on to the grave and wait for the next life, that He will be, okay, you were supposed to only be here for another couple of years. However, that dua, I'm going to give you another 10. That is how powerful the dua is. So besides the dua, okay, we already know this. That is the most powerful tool that we have as Muslims and in the law of attraction game, okay? Speak to Allah. Ask Allah. Ask the ultimate creator to create for you. You're not a creator, so don't rely on yourself. The universe is not even a creator. The universe is a slave to Allah. So ask the creator to come in and create for you, okay? So obviously we know that as Muslims that is our most powerful tool. So that should be your number one focus. If you're trying to use the law of attraction as a Muslim, that's your number one focus. And the best advice that I can give you from one Muslim woman to another, focus on your dua. Focus on your relationship with Allah. Speak to Allah. Formulate your wishes to Allah. Brain dump with Allah. Have those moments of concerns, moments of doubts and hesitations, vocalize that to Allah. All of those things, have those conversations with Allah. That is where you will get the most reward and the most return for your investment, okay? Now, that being said, I really want to make sure that I'm not just kind of like, oh, but then we'll move on from that. Because again, that is the absolute number one tool that you can possibly even delve into. But I also understand that for some of us, it can be difficult at times to speak to Allah. Sometimes we don't feel worthy. Sometimes we've made mistakes in the past that makes us feel shame or guilt when we approach Allah. Sometimes we feel like, we have more fear than love towards Allah. There's so many reasons that can make us feel like we are withholding our deepest desires and wishes from Allah, even though we're not withholding anything. Allah sees everything and knows everything, but it still makes us feel having a difficult time, vocalizing things to Allah and with Allah, like having that moment of conversation with Allah. And so therefore, while I will obviously still recommend that you try and work on that as best as you can, and move towards a better relationship with Allah. And if you're struggling with that, my darling, I offer one-on-one coaching calls. Let's talk. This is what I do, and I'm really good at it. And Allah wants you not to book a coaching call with me. I don't know if He wants you to do that, but He wants you to repair that relationship so that you can approach Him in conversation every single day. And if you're struggling to find out how to do that, then yeah, come talk to me. But besides that, you working on that relationship and creating that relationship with Allah. And then once you have done that, you can start looking at other aspects, like what else can I then do? What more in my everyday life can I do little things that can move me towards the manifestation quicker? What can I do in the 3D outside of speaking to Allah? Because of course, speaking to Allah that is us speaking to the Creator, the force, the power, our King, our everything that will create it. But we still need to, in this dunya, still take some steps. And in order for us to keep taking those steps and take those actions on a regular basis, then we need to be able to motivate ourselves in a way that inspires us to continuously take those steps and be disciplined with it. Okay, not to say that you can never have an off day, but that you will do it more times than you won't, right? And this is where other tools might be very beneficial, and these can be things like affirmations, vision boards, gratitude journaling, whatever else, meditations, whatever is out there. Okay, so besides the dua, what should you be looking at? Well, darling, this is where you need to start asking yourself some questions and get to know yourself a little bit, because it really depends on you as a person and how you retain information and what has a biggest impact upon you and what gives you the best feelings of enjoyment when you're doing it. So if you struggle to find time to journal, and if you're struggling to find out what to journal on and you hate writing and it gives your hand a cramp and stuff, that is potentially not your tool. But if you love to speak to yourself, if you love to repeat affirmations, then maybe that's the way you should be going. But this is where none of the other tools necessarily, there isn't necessarily one that works better than another. It really depends on your ability to retain information and let yourself be inspired by the action that you're taking on a regular basis. And for some people, that includes listening to podcasts. My thing is, like, I listen to podcasts a lot. It inspires a lot of motivation in me, but it's not necessarily the thing that changes necessarily my mindset. But over time, of course it has, but it's not the one that I'll get immediate results from, but it's something that as on a regular basis keeps me motivated to take action. But if I need immediate action, or if I need immediate change on something, that is journaling for me. Affirmations in its traditional sense has never fully worked for me. It's not a thing that in my world operates where my brain operates on a level where it's like, yeah, this is definitely where I'm going to get the most results. But it's a nice thing to complement throughout my day, where I'm using affirmations more in my regular speak, meaning I don't have specific affirmations. However, I will correct the way I talk when I catch myself saying something. So my affirmations are not, you are beautiful, you are worthy, you are this, that, and the other. It's something to the effect of, I'll say to myself, you're so silly, Zara. You're always doing, you know what, Zara? You sometimes can be a little bit silly, but it's what makes you a wonderful person and fun to be around. And while you can be silly, sometimes you can also be a very, very serious person, and a little mixture of both has never hurt anyone. So do you see what I did there? You know, my affirmations are very much more sort of like within the situation, within the speech. So I always try and make sure I come back on something positive, so that I'm not leaving my mind stuck on something that my body could, or my brain or my body and everything around me, the energy, only gets stuck on the potentially negative self-talk that I've just said out loud or to myself. Do you see what I mean? But it's not necessarily that I like the affirmations, but this is me having known and understand, like done the work, and now understand how I process information, how I take in information, and how information affects me depending on how I consume it, which means that I can now be much better at figuring out which tools to utilize and which ones to just be like, I can just add on to that when I want to, or I can just sprinkle it on when I want it or need it. But other than that, there are other things that I will focus my time and effort on. Affirmations are not more powerful than gratitude journaling. Gratitude journaling is not more powerful than a meditation. A meditation is not more powerful than a vision board. The most powerful tool for you outside of the dua, we've already spoken about that, is the one that has the highest impact on you when you're doing it. It is not the one that you force yourself to do. If you're forcing yourself to do it, then it robs you of the joy, it robs you of the energy that you're creating the thing with. So if you're forcing yourself to say affirmations every day, and you're walking over to the mirror with resentment and hatred, the energy is already corrupted. You need to go in there excited to say your affirmations, because you know it's going to change your life and your mood and everything around you. But if you go into even a gratitude journal, forcing yourself to write and forcing yourself to try and write it pretty, even though you don't like your handwriting and whatever, you've already corrupted it. Do the thing that brings you joy and do it with the right energy, knowing that you will benefit from it, not trying to force yourself to enjoy something that you don't. It's very much I think also like how we're seeing the world today. Back in the day when I grew up, the girls either went it wasn't me, because my parents couldn't afford it, but I went to a private school, and 90% of the girls in my class had horseback lessons or ballet. Like that, those were the two things that the girls did. Money. When people come from it, some of us don't. But either way, so either they'd go horseback riding or they'd go to ballet, and the boys all went to football. And the thing is, like, now I like horseback riding, and I probably also would have liked it back then, or ballet, but in reality, if I had the money, I would have gone to football, because I was actually really good at football when I was younger. Maybe not so much now, because I haven't played football in a long time. But back then, that's not what you did. Back then, you did the girls' sport. The girls did this and the boys did that, right? That's how you separated the two things. But you could also have, boys who wanted to do ballet or horseback riding, and you tried to force them to be football players, and they kind of sucked at it, and they never really got any better at it because they didn't want to be there to begin with. In fact, all they wanted to do was stand on their tippy toes, pretending to be the nutcracker or whatever. And the same with some of the girls doing ballet or whatever. They didn't want to be these cute little dainty little things on their tippy toes. They wanted to go out there and kick a football really, really hard and roll around in grass and push people around. And so now we're seeing that more and more, where we're a bit more open in society now. It's like, no, football's not just for boys. Girls can play football too. Boys can do ballet too. And it doesn't necessarily mean anything for their sexual orientation or anything of that sort that we once upon a time used to believe. It just means that is where their creativity really shines and they really come to life. And we want to be able to do that for ourselves as well. We want to be able to not restrict ourselves into thinking that this is one way to do it, when for other people it's a completely different way. Just because one thing works for your best friend or your mum or your sister doesn't mean it'll work for you. So if you're just starting out, experiment. Figure it out as you go. If you find yourself getting stuck on the journaling, or you keep postponing it, or you're just not enjoying it, my darling, don't do it. Try something different, or try journaling in a different way. Journaling doesn't have to be this, and today, and this is what I'm grateful for. Sometimes journaling is just, I'm letting out all of my negative feelings and my thoughts into this journal, and then I'm ripping up the page and saying, and I forgive myself and I accept myself and I let it go, or whatever, however it works for you is the thing that you need to focus on. If you're more drawn to one thing than another, then explore that. Explore it, go for that. But just remember, in everything that you do, number one, the dua is the number one tool. That is where you should be placing the amount of the majority of your energy. And if you can't do that right now, it should definitely be a priority for you to have that as your main tool eventually. So work your way towards making that your main tool eventually, if it's not it yet, and you don't feel comfortable with it being that yet. And as you're exploring the other ones, keeping that in the back of your mind that you need to come back to the dua at some point or another. Because again, nothing is going to happen without the will of Allah. So the more you can communicate the things that you'd like to Allah, and Allah sees your intention and all of these things, which He does, even if you don't come to dua, don't forget that. But there is blessings in that dua. There is favor in that dua. So remember that, okay? We don't necessarily want to cycle uphill against wind and spitting, trying to spit forward, but because you're uphill and against wind, it's going to land on your own face. Let's try and cycle downhill with the wind in our backs. And so if you're spinning, well, actually, because you're probably going pretty fast, it'll probably hit you in the face again, but maybe you deserve it. I'm sorry, I don't know why I said that. Maybe you just need to wash your face that day. No, you know what my problem is that I think I'm funny. That's my problem. Okay, I'm sorry, my darling. So that's the first thing, the dua. Come to the dua first and foremost. Keep that in mind. Number two, don't get so stuck on one solution. Experiment, have fun with it. Manifestation is fun. It's supposed to be enjoyable for you. And so if one aspect of it is not enjoyable for you, darling, nobody's forcing you to continue doing that one thing. Play around with it. And if you're finding like, oh, I really love journaling, but right now I'm going through like a really busy time, so I don't have the time to journal, do something else in that time. Try meditating, try going on a brisk walk and imagining, visualizing things. Do whatever it takes, right? But have fun with it. Do the things that are bringing you joy, because that in and of itself, when you're wanting to do the thing, you're bringing the energy, that positive energy of gratitude and excitement and joy into the actual tool as well, you know, when you're doing the thing, and that will create a much better outcome because you're simply vibrating at a far more escalated, up-leveled vibration and frequency. It is absolutely wonderful. All right, my darling. I hope there was something beneficial for you in this episode. As usual, if you have any comments, questions, anything like that, feel free to reach out to me over on my Instagram at Manifesting Muslima. And again, if you're struggling with any of these things and you need a helping hand, I offer one-on-one coaching. Feel free to reach out. Let's have a conversation about it. Let's get you set back on track. Let's get your relationship with Allah improved, where you know that conversation with Allah is the highlight of your day, because that is where the most magic in your life will happen. And if you're struggling with that right now, my darling, I'm here. I'm always here and ready to help. There's a link in my bio, not in the bio, what's it called? The show notes. This is a podcast. There's also links in my bio. You know, all that good stuff. Anyway, my darling, I hope you have an amazing rest of your day, whatever it is that you're doing. And I will see you in my next episode, inshallah. Take care. And until then, please don't forget to live in love. I almost forgot my own outro. Could you believe that? It's just unbelievable. Anyway, don't forget to live in love. Bye. Don't forget to live in love. Should I end it only on don't forget to live in love? Yeah, because you know what? That is my outro. I can't believe I'm trying to change it now. Okay, darling, don't forget to live in love.